Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Beyond Football podcast. We're back again, giving you the insight into the journeys of young footballers, the behind the scenes of the stories, and just showing you who they are beyond football. Today, I got my second female footballer on the podcast, obviously giving you guys this is like a platform to show you guys like what goes on in the females game. So I got Mia North. She's West Ham footballer. She's a Wales international. So thanks for coming on, Mia.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. So was it always a dream for you though? Like, when did it all start for you?
I think it only became like a reality to me that I wanted to be like aiming for the professional level when I kind of got into the county/regional camps, because there was just no academies around my area. I mean, I started out at a boys team because there wasn't even any girls teams. Wow. So I didn't even know being a professional player as a woman was a thing. And then as I got into county, which was kind of the route that you would look to making a name for yourself.
Yeah.
I got into county and actually got in. I think straight away was like a big thing. And then through that, I got into Southwest, which was a big, there's players that I play with there that are now playing for England, playing in the WSL. I was then through that was put on standby for England a couple of times. Yeah. So it all kind of came out of nowhere really. And then after I joined Yeovil, which was my first proper WSL team, that was when it was like serious because I had to travel far. Yeah. I had to make sacrifices with school. And that's when it was like, okay.
So when did you actually start playing football?
My dad told me this the other day because I never know the answer. I was double digits. I think I was like, I want to between 10 and 12. I'm going to give that bracket. I should know that, but I was
is that like late for the women's game?
I mean, some people I know people that played from when they were like 4. So I guess maybe it was late. I don't know when you started playing, but I think a lot of people do start a bit younger.
Yeah.
But I guess I can't even remember really how I got into football. My dad liked football, so I think I just, I'm quite a lot like him. He was a keeper as well, so I kind of just fell into it, and then I really liked it, and that's when it kind of all just started from there. But yeah, it was definitely quite late.
Oh, okay, that's good, man. So how did you choose to be a goalkeeper? So was it primarily because of your dad and everything?
This is again something that I'm a bit unaware of, but my dad, was a keeper. So whether there was some influence from him, just thinking, give it a go. Yeah. And then I got told by my friend, Mia, who is also at West Ham, she always says to me that her parents were the ones who gave her the idea to go in goal. I don't remember that, but they're very adamant that happened. So I think there were different people telling me that I should just go in goal, and why they told me that I don't know, but I ended up in there and I didn't do a bad job. So every team is always looking for a keeper, I feel, as well. So pretty desperate.
Especially at those young ages.
Everyone wants to be a striker.
No one wants to be a keeper.
Yeah, no one wants to be keeper, and finding a good one as well at a young age is difficult. So For me, it was a thing where I've always been big for my age, so I was just jumped in, and then I just stuck with it. I can't remember how tall I was. But I mean, I'm 5'8" now, so I'm tall for a woman, I think, in general anyway. But I don't know if I think it was just all right. I just got in the way of the ball.
Yeah, that's it, man. That's the beauty of it.
Exactly.
But how was it like being? So was there no female clubs or local clubs around your area at that time?
There was one, but I was too young to play for them in games. So I trained with them like once a week, and then I actually played for the boys equivalent. So the team was called Litchit. They were local, but they were still a good 20-minute drive, 25-minute drive. I didn't play for my hometown, but I played for the boys because I would have had to wait another year to play with the girls. So I think obviously someone must have said, why don't you just go play for the boys team? Obviously it was a mixed league, so girls are allowed. And I was put in goals straight away. And I was playing with them.
How was that experience? Because obviously I can imagine a mixed team. I don't think I've ever seen that, or even
well, you call it a mixed team, but I was the only girl.
Yeah.
And there was only one other girl in the league, and that was Mia, my friend.
Yeah.
And she was playing for a different team. So it was basically a boys' team with a girl in goal, which was quite ironic, I guess. And I guess there's always that stereotype of, oh, they've put the girl in goal because they're not going to play her. But when I came in to the team, there was already a goalkeeper. So obviously I pushed him out, which was a thing.
So how did they take that and everything? That's because obviously back then, that must have been big as well. Like,
yeah, I mean, everyone was like, who is this person? Like, you know, boys are very different to girls at that age as well. And I think there's always that stereotype, especially back then, like years ago, that girls in football was still so small. That a girl coming into a boys team and then also like pushing out a boy in the same position, that was like, you know,
that's crazy, isn't it?
A big deal.
That's it.
But I really enjoyed it. Like, to be fair, it was difficult on the social side because it was hard to make friends. Just, you know, boys are so different. I was very shy as well, so I didn't really know what to do. But
this is when you're like around like 10, 11.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, I just want to be friends with girls. And I think it was as well, coming in as a girl into a boys team, maybe there's a bit of a, like, this kind of, oh, who's this person? Like, why is she here?
Yeah.
But they were nothing but nice to me. Like, I had absolutely no problem with them. The parents were lovely. The coaches were lovely. You know, I really enjoyed it. Like, I really did enjoy it.
Yeah, that's good, man. So like, what difficulties did you encounter playing for that boys team though?
I guess there was that social side, obviously. And I guess there was the pressure of, okay, look, I'm the girl in goal. I can't make a mistake because it's going to be like this whole, oh, there it is. You know, that's why she's in there. You know, that's the reason that she's been put in that position. But there's the other side of it where it's like, well, she's been put in there, then she must be pretty good because she's pushed out the existing boy. So if she makes a mistake, it's like, well, what's the point? So there was definitely that pressure just to perform. Even at that young age where really football didn't matter that much, like it wasn't that deep, like we were all just there to have fun. But there was definitely that kind of facade that I needed to play really well every game.
Yeah. So that even brings to like this like psychology of it. Like from like when I was younger, I used to like struggle with obviously making mistakes, conceding, like the emotional response to it. Like how are you with it? Obviously, especially like being, obviously you said being the only girl in the league and being the goalkeeper as well. Like that pressure must have been mad, didn't it?
Yeah. I think it was more pressure that I put on myself though. It didn't really come from anyone else because no coach would sit there and be like, you can't make a mistake, or none of the boys would be like, you better be good because you've replaced this boy or whatever. It all came from inside me. The parents were lovely, and I think it's hard to remember back so long because obviously my memory from then is clearly rubbish because I didn't only remember when I played. But there was a very friendly environment. I think it all just came from myself, and I think if I did make a mistake, no one would really make a big deal out of it, you know. And I guess maybe back then I was still a bit too unaware of what it really meant. Like, you know, ironically, I was in the team as well that lost every week. So if we did concede, it was like, oh well, you know, we're going to lose anyway, which is a really bad mentality. But it was just, we just went to play and have fun. You know, it wasn't like this really serious, like, oh my God, we need to win.
So at this point, you didn't think like, oh, this is all I want to do. This is what I do when I grow up.
No, I think like you're so young that you just want to enjoy yourself. Like football was only twice a week. Like it wasn't consuming my life. I was just having fun. Like I said, I didn't even realize you could be a professional football player as a woman. Like it wasn't even a thing. So yeah, I guess at the point I was just going to have fun. And I guess I enjoyed the fact that I was this kind of standout person. Everyone was like, oh, who's this girl? Like she's wearing these little goggles and she's one of the only girls in the league and she's in goal and I wasn't that bad. So it was like quite interesting, I think. And I guess I just enjoyed that because I'd have parents come up to me at the end of the games like, oh my God, you're really good. Like, good for you. And it was just, I enjoyed that. You know, I like the attention, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good achievement. Obviously, you're breaking the rules and changing the game, eh?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there was no other way. I couldn't play for a girls' team until I was older, so I had to do it. I had to.
But that obviously for girls, I feel like that's the difference, obviously, between the the girl side, because obviously girls, it's not taken as seriously in younger ages, because, you know, with guys, you know, by the time they're like age 8, 9, 10, they're in the academy systems, and like they're getting pressure from the clubs, pressure from the parents, pressure from, you know, they're already living like the high life compared to their friends and everything. So yeah, it's mad.
I think there's a good side to that as well, in a sense, because as much as like I would want to have been in an academy from a young age, because I would have been able to be nurtured from a younger age, at the same time, it's like, would I have enjoyed football as much at a young age if I was already playing for, let's say, Chelsea at 9 years old? It was already it would have already been so serious. Whereas I got to enjoy those few years of just playing every Saturday and training once a week and just having a bit of fun, you know. And then I could then build my love from it through that, instead of kind of being thrown into a really serious environment straight away and being like, oh, okay, well, I've got to take it serious, you know.
Yeah, that's it, man. Because that's how it is for a lot of guys. Obviously, they're thrown into it and they're in that bubble until and that's all they know. They don't have experiences of the outside world and everything.
Yeah, they've had one journey their entire life, and yeah, it's crazy. The psychology side of it is so complex. Like, you could speak about it for hours.
So at this point, what did you want to be like when you were older? Like,
I had the classics, like, oh, I want to be a police officer, or like, again, I don't even know, like just really generic things, like a doctor. Like, I wanted to study medicine at uni, which at that age, I don't know why I was even thinking about university, but you know, I was just not even thinking that deeply into it. But I really did love football. Like, I really did like it, and I think my dad was obviously quite happy as well that I liked it. And him being a keeper as well, it's nice for him to see me doing that as well and enjoying it. And I did, you know, I was always the girl in school that could play football and played with the boys every break time and lunchtime, and I was respected and all that. And I think there was always that sense that I really did love football and I wanted to do it, but I think I just didn't ever think it was really a possibility.
Yeah, it's them ones. But like, do you know of like are there even any like academies for girls at such a young age, like below the age of 10, like maybe Chelsea or something like?
I know West Ham have the West Ham Foundation.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's as young as that, but it is younger than like I would have ever been able to do. So, and I'm assuming there's others as well. Like, I wish I knew more, but there's definitely more younger girls programs out there now than there were before, massively. Like, it's taken so many leaps and bounds. Like, I don't know if you were to go and watch a mixed league game now, I don't know how many girls you'd see, because I don't know if there's now more options for younger girls football. Yeah, I think there is, definitely.
So making progress, eh?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
That's good. So, but you had to go through the county route and everything. Like, how does that work?
So that was for girls. That was where that was the big deal. So you just open trials. Like, you didn't even have to really apply, and you just turned up. And I remember I got recommended to do it by my coach, and I must have been 12 or 13, because at that point I was playing for a girls team, and it was a good girls team.
Yeah.
And the coach of that said to my dad, like, Mia should go for county. And I was just like, okay. Like, I remember the conversation quite well, my dad saying about it. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll try. Like, I didn't really know what it entailed. I didn't really know what it meant. But once I got in that environment and obviously got in, it was obviously more serious, more training. And then we have like tournaments where I'd have the whole day of playing all the other counties. And I stayed in that setup until I was 15. And then in those 3-4 years I was there, that's when I got into Southwest, because you'd have the Southwest coaches come and watch the counties.
Yeah.
So it was called it was maybe the elite development pathway, I want to say. So it was kind of like grassroots.
So they have that like opportunities for girls as well.
Yeah, they did. They still did. It was different to the boys, because the boys who played for county were good, but obviously that meant that they played for just like a normal club on the side. It wasn't like you played for Chelsea.
Because I know I used to play for county back in secondary school for my district and everything. So that was.
It was really good. Like, it was the way that you knew you could you're a good footballer. Like, it was, the players around you were all very good. It was good training, good facilities, but the most important thing from county was the opportunities that it led you to. You know, they didn't want you, they wanted you to be a regional player, or they wanted you to even be an international, like an England international. So that was your way of getting through. Definitely.
So when that happened for you, like, how was that experience of obviously you getting a move and getting called up and being recognized on that international scale? Like, how is that in the girls' game? How is that process?
With Wales, it was completely not like you would think. So I'd obviously been on standby for England a couple of times. That came out of nowhere. Like, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's amazing. You know, that's an achievement in itself. But unfortunately, I never got an official camp. And then my dad thought, well, obviously you're half Welsh and you've been on standby for England. At the time I played for Yeovil. So I played for a WSL club. I played county, you know, I had a good football CV. And so he just emailed them. He just said, look, I've got this daughter here, blah, blah, blah. And they just said, okay, she can come down to one of our training sessions, because they actually train weekly, interestingly. And I just went down for one session, and I did well. It wasn't anything crazy. And then I didn't hear anything for like a couple of months. So, you know, we just thought, oh, you know, it was a good experience, whatever. And then all of a sudden I got a call up to a camp just like that. It was only a 1-day camp.
So what age was this?
I was 16 and it was for the under 19s.
That's big. That's big.
Yeah, I was a bit like, it caught me completely off guard. Like, I had no clue it was coming. I thought they'd forgotten about me, to be honest. And yeah, I went, and then from then on I had more camps after that, and then I went to the Euro Qualifiers with them. And I was
what age was that with?
That's under 19s, yeah.
Wow, so about 17, under 19 Euros.
Yeah, the qualifiers. I was 17, and then I turned 18 at the camp. So yeah, it was a pretty cool place to turn 18. Unfortunately, we didn't qualify, but it was still an amazing experience.
Yeah.
To sing the national anthem, which obviously I had to learn like the night before because it's in Welsh. So I didn't do a very good job of that. Yeah, I was like, oh my god, I don't even know how to pronounce this word. I had to have the girls help me. But just the whole experience of it, and we got some little like flags and things like that from the other clubs, and it's just it was a really cool thing to do. So that's always going to sit. I mean, I've got my shirt framed at home, and I think for my dad, because he's Welsh, so I was kind of glad that I could do that for him in a way, because I'm born in England. I feel English. I know it sounds bad, but I've never lived in Wales, but my dad obviously is completely Welsh, and it was nice to be able to do that for him and have that kind of thing for him as well. But yeah, it was incredible. I loved it.
No, that's great, man. Like, obviously that is big in itself, like, but especially in the women's game, that must have been crazy. Like, after that, were like clubs knocking on your door, everything.
I was at Yeovil. I was when it first happened. I was at Yeovil, I believe, and then obviously I was with them with Wales, like training with them for a couple of years, and during that time I was moved to West Ham, and when I went to the Euro qualifiers, I was with West Ham, and it was very early on in the season of being at West Ham, and that first few months at West Ham was really crazy because I got a first team call up in the first month of being there, which was just insane. Wow. And then after that I had the Euros call up. It was just crazy. Like, it was amazing, like incredible.
And this is obviously the side of the female game that not many people know about, but it's actually like people are doing like big things in that game. So obviously it's good to shed light on that, on the experience.
Definitely. 100%.
So obviously at this point, were you just like, football, this is what I want to do? Like,
I think as soon as I moved. So I joined Yeovil at 15, and I was just in there. It was their under 16 setup, and it was still a grassroots club. So we played in a boys' league, actually, funnily enough. So I was playing against boys again. Obviously, we got smashed every week because boys at that age, you guys are so tall and so quick, and technically you were better as well. So but I enjoyed it as a keeper. I got so much from that.
Just to save.
Yeah, so much action. And I loved it, and then when I turned 16. Yeovil were turning into a professional academy where I train every day, play against Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, all these clubs. And I had to move away from home to go there for college. So that was kind of like the decision where it was like, right, I'm going to move away from home.
Yeah.
I'm going to train basically full time. Like that was kind of the moment where I decided that I was going to go for it. Because there was a moment where I didn't want to move. I wanted to stay at my current school, you know, with all my friends. And
it's tough, man. It's tough, obviously, moving away from family, from friends, and like going to chase your dream. Because obviously, when you're away from home, like you come back after training, it's kind of lonely. Like maybe after a game, maybe you might have made a mistake or something. It's lonely. You don't really have people to talk to and that.
Definitely, like and there's always that sense of, they're all sat at home thinking that I'm rubbish, when they're not, because people don't care that much about me, but you're just sat at home thinking the whole team thinks I'm rubbish now because I made this mistake.
Trust me.
It's just, it's just like this niggling feeling that you always have. And until you can go and train the next day or play the next match and like redeem yourself, that feeling doesn't really go away.
Trust me.
It's
tough, man, because so at this point were you like what was the education side of it? Like you were just completely focused on making it pro, like anything?
No, I mean, definitely not. My parents were always they're still very education, like that is the most important thing. As long as your education is okay, that's what we care about. And the college that I moved to, very good college, it's called Bridgewater College. And them and Yeovil had a partnership. So I wouldn't miss any lessons, you know, I'd train at the college. And everything was kind of around my school schedule. So it was, they said to me, you're a student athlete, like the student comes first, then the athlete. And I did a triple BTEC in sport. And it was really good. Well. Yeah, it's just a really good course. And it was actually I was really thankful I did that in the end as well, because obviously it's all essays, it's all assignments. And when I moved to West Ham, I obviously had to do everything online. And if I'd been doing A-levels, that would have been really difficult because I wouldn't have been there for lessons. Wouldn't it be like exam period and all that stuff? So having the essay side of it only was good because I could just do it at home and it would be completely fine. And the college were really supportive of that as well, despite being partnered to the club that I just left. So they were really, really good throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, that's good, man. So obviously we've seen that obviously a lot of clubs nowadays they emphasize the obviously the education side of it because they know, but we still see like people struggle to obviously make something out of themselves once they obviously stop playing or get released or something like that. Why do you think that is?
I don't know if it's because some people just have it so set that football is their life and they don't want to accept the fact that that might not happen. And education, you know, a lot of people struggle with education. They struggle academically. They don't like it, whatever it is. And I think maybe there's this mindset that, but it's okay because I play football and I want to be a footballer and I'm going to make it happen some way. But you know, football, there's only so many controllables in it for you. There's a lot of luck involved, really. You know, there's a lot of luck, and being good enough is this whole other thing, and just the coaches that you have around you, the players,
politics, all of that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's so hard to make it, let alone as a boy. You know, it's very hard to make it as a boy, and then as a girl as well, who arguably have maybe less facilities, less connections, less networking. It's like, you know, it's difficult. So I think maybe people just have a mentality that they don't want to accept that they're going to have to make a life out of something else. And I think people struggle to time manage as well. Like, it is stressful, you know, a lot.
But I thought, have there been like other girls who have like maybe not taken their education serious and maybe falling out of the game, and like how do they pick themselves back up and everything? Like in the system you were at, like Yeovil, like West Ham, like do you know of like girls who like, what is the girl side of it? Because we know that people like the BBC, like Sky Sports, they do documentaries of obviously the lost boys of football. Like, what about the lost girls of football?
Yeah, well, I think there was an example of a girl who actually was released from the club because her attendance at the school was so bad, because West Ham have a partnership at this school, just like Yeovil did. And it was like, if you aren't attending the school and you aren't, you know, behaving correctly, then you will not get the rewards on the pitch. So a couple of girls were suspended from games because they were being naughty at school. Like I said, one was released because her attendance was so poor. So, those are players that have, had a disadvantage because they haven't adhered to their educational side.
Yeah.
And I mean, fair play to the clubs for reacting and saying like, no, you need to make sure your education is on top, because that's the most important thing. Because I don't know if it's as prominent in the boys' side, but the girls' teams are always very like education. I think every single team in my league, the West Ham League, has some type of partnership with a school or a college, because they want to make sure the girls are going to a good school where they're not missing too much for training, and things like that. So it's kind of
because of
like
obviously that lack of guarantee and everything.
Yeah, I think so as well. But there's less money in women's football as well. Like the wages that players get, obviously, they can live off it. But when I was at Yeovil, there was, that was a full-time professional WSL club, and all the players pretty much had other jobs because the wages that Yeovil were giving them weren't enough. Obviously, it's a sad thing. It's like a sad reality because Yeovil just didn't have the money.
Yeah.
But I just found it really crazy to see that there was players on that were professional footballers who would play the likes of Man City and then go and teach at a school the next day. It's just
that's the reality of the game. Like that's what people don't see.
Yeah, it is, and I think now it's a lot better. Like that's quite rare. It's getting better, and with the new like Sky Sports deal and everything, there's more money being put into it, but. Yeah, that was really eye-opening, and I was just kind of like, how do you deal with that? Like, how can you have a job but also have another job? Like, how can you be a professional footballer and a teacher,
especially with the physical demands?
It's tiring. And Yeovil, they had a hard season. They struggled to win games and things like this, and there was a lot going on. And I can imagine for the players who were playing every week, it must have been so draining, like really difficult.
Trust me. So those, obviously you spoke about those like girls on your team who were released because of obviously education, their behavior and stuff. Like what happens to them? Do you know what like they end up doing, what they end up doing with themselves after that, like the transition of leaving the football system in the female game? Like how is that like?
I think most of them, I mean, I know the ones that got suspended from games, they stayed at the club, obviously. They just kind of, it's like a slap on the wrist, like, kind of sort yourself out. The ones that kind of got released, I think they just found other clubs, not our level clubs, just other women's teams, really. I think they aimed more for women's football, maybe at a lower tier, but they didn't go for academy football again. I mean, a lot of them I just don't keep in contact with, so I couldn't really tell you for sure. But I think they that's kind of their level. Like, being at West Ham is such a big opportunity that once you lose that, I think a lot of them struggle to find the same thing again, because they might think, can I be bothered? Because I've worked so hard to get into this system and now I've just been kicked out.
Yeah.
Like, can I be bothered to go do that again and change school and all this? And it's like, I think a lot of people just lose their fight, honestly. Yeah. And they just think, I'll just go join a women's team and train twice a week, play once at the weekend, but it won't be my life,
So what do you think those guys have like other things going for them? Like if maybe they didn't have if they didn't find another club or.
Yeah, I think like they might have, I think one of them, she went to another college and now I think she has her own business.
Okay.
She still plays football, definitely still plays football. Not at the level that West Ham were, but she's now focused on the business side of things. I think there's another girl actually that I know, I think she left. I'm not sure what the reasons were, but she now has her own business as well. And she's doing other things and completely away from football, away from that. So I think when you get to a level at academy, it's where you start to filter the players that don't have the mentality or the fight to really make it their life.
Yeah.
And then you separate them ones from the ones who are fully committed and dedicated to making football like their life.
Mm-hmm.
And you see those ones from an early stage, and the coaches see it as well.
Yeah.
And
So do you think that boys struggle harder than girls to obviously let go of the football side of it and struggle to like make something of themselves after they've been released? Do you get what I mean? Like, do you think it hits the boys harder?
Well, that's a good question. I think to an extent, yes, because I think if you did get released from a girls' team, it's easier to go find another team. Whether you want to, that's a completely different discussion. But with boys, it's like, I know how they're in those academies for so long, and they dedicate like so many hours of their life that when boys do get released, I think that is so difficult to like react to, and to get into another club as well. Like, boys football is way more competitive than girls. I will admit that openly. Like, becoming a boys professional footballer, I think, is more difficult than becoming a female professional footballer, just because of the amount of boys that play football, and the talent pool is so big. Like, how many boys in an academy will end up going through to the first team? It's very rare. That's why when you see it, people are like, oh my God. So I think for a boy to then get back into an academy somewhere else and completely change where their life is, where their life has been, whether that's through that, their education has to change, they have to move, all these things, I think that is more difficult, personally. Just to get into another club, I think, is more difficult because there's just many boys.
I literally agree with you, man. And I feel like that's the reality. Like, I was discussing this with another one of like my friends who plays football. Like, the whole system I feel like for boys, it's like it's marketed in a sense where it seems like everyone can make it. It seems like like you go up through the academy system. There's so many boys who like start in the academy system from like the ages of 7, 8, and boom, they have this dream. They're in this bubble of, I'm gonna make it pro. I'm gonna make it pro. They don't focus on anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why obviously I've seen a gap in people's knowledge in the market. Like, you need to have an identity beyond the game of football because it's 100%. Not guaranteed. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think with boys, it's the seed, the dream is planted so early on because they're there so early. Whereas with me, I didn't realize it was a thing until I was like 15. But at that point, I knew that it could happen, because if I got that far, because as a girl committing to football from a young age, that's quite rare. Seeing a girl from 10 stay playing until 19, you know that's because she's serious. So I think with a boy, because it's so early on that they are given that kind of hope. It's like they're like, oh, well, this is my dream, this is it now, and it's not the same.
It's pain, man, but that's why obviously you have to keep raising awareness. So obviously, I feel like it doesn't have to be like education, but I feel like you just need to make sure you have an identity beyond the game, because the bubble, I know, like me, I've been in the academy system since I was like maybe like 12, but like just that, like I haven't been since I was like 7 or 8, but just since I was like, it's a really crazy bubble where you don't really experience the real world.
I can imagine.
The real world is tough. So
yes, it is. Like, you're kind of kept in this, like you say, this bubble of football is everything. You have these lovely facilities every day. You're playing for the biggest clubs in the world, and you're living the dream. Like, you really are. Like, the amount of times when I didn't play for an academy, like before I got into an academy, and I'd go on Instagram and see all these boys my age playing for like Arsenal and training every day and having their education around that. Like, I was just kind of sat there like, oh my God, I'd love that. But at the same time, the con of that is all they do. That is all they know, really. Exactly. And I don't, because obviously you're in university, but I don't know how many boys get the opportunity to go to university if they play for an academy club. Because for me at West Ham, they were like, they want us to go to university because they know that, one, it's not a guarantee anyway, and secondly, even if you do get into the women's game, you're going to retire at what, 32 maybe, and then you're going to have to get a job. You might even have to get a job while you're a professional, because you might play for a club that doesn't have a lot of money, whether you're in the championship or whatever it is. So, like, UEL obviously has a partnership.
That's the same experience for boys. This career is short, but I feel like because obviously the facade of obviously the 1% who at the big Premier League clubs who make the the 100,000s a week, they're like, oh, that's the aim. But the
Exactly.
reality of it is that it's like, that's not actually like what most people are going to experience. So I feel like the fact that for me, I know that me in my age group as like a first year pro, I feel like I'm like maybe the only one who's actually doing university alongside being a professional. But I feel like more people need to tap into it, because
100%.
even maybe though you may not enjoy it, but it opens doors in the future. It
100%.
creates something else for you. It gives you identity beyond the game of football.
Definitely, yeah, literally, because you just, let's say you might get an injury, you might have every skill set you could ever need to be a professional footballer. You might be the best at your age, whatever. You could, like that, one day get a career-ending injury, and all of a sudden it's like, what do I do now?
Exactly.
Where do I go? Because if you haven't got that degree or that network, at least, because I think a lot of clubs, especially at boys level, it's hard. You get released and you kind of, there's no support after that.
There's no support.
There's no support. You get brushed away, and the next person comes in to replace you, and that club is only focused on that person.
Exactly.
Like, to be fair, with West Ham, we had retained release calls, and obviously quite a few people got released, and West Ham were like, right, well, we're going to put on a showcase game. We're going to film it. You're going to get clips, and we're going to try and help you find another club, because they don't want to just push everyone away. They even said after the release calls, they said, if you get released but you want to still train with us up until the end of the season, you're more than welcome. There's no pressure.
A lot of guy clubs do that as well. A lot of boys clubs and academies do stuff like that as well. But it's just, apart from that, it's tough, man.
Yeah, like you just get released and that's it, and you're kind of stuck. And I think there's so many stories of mental health and boys really struggling with being depressed and things like that after they get released, and no one really knows about it. No one really taps into it, and it's quite sad to see and to hear about.
Yeah, man. So what like made you, like, obviously you said West Ham made you do like the university and that, like, so why did you choose, what course are you studying and everything?
So I'm doing sport and exercise science. Like, I've always been a sporty kind of girl in that sense with subjects, and I always wanted to go to university because, I mean, my parents, they definitely wanted me to make sure I had a plan B, whether that was, usually in the form of university, getting a degree. And I always wanted to do that. And West Ham, I'm glad, were accommodating of that. I never thought for a second that, oh God, I'm going to have to choose. And I'm really glad that UEL's obviously got a partnership with West Ham. West Ham were encouraging me to go to UEL. They were like, look, we've got this really good setup here. And UEL have been really supportive of that. So
shout out UEL, man.
Yeah, shout out UEL, I guess.
Help me.
Yeah, they've been great. Like, I don't ever feel like everything's on top of me at once, even though I am so busy. I don't feel like I've been suffocated, which I guess is maybe a big deterrent for a lot of people who do want to go to uni.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of boys, I know, they're like, oh, that's long. Like, how do you have time for that? But the reality behind it is that, like, I got so much time when I get home from training in the evenings. Like, it's all about time management and everything. Like,
exactly.
The way I look at it is, like, rather than me like coming home, spending hours watching Netflix or playing COD or playing PS4, PS5, like, I can actually do something that's going to benefit my future and that. And I feel like it's good that obviously your side of it and you're doing it currently. So it's good to obviously have someone else that's going through that experience as well. Like, it's possible.
It's not that difficult. Like, I feel like if anything, it would be harder for a boy, not to take anything away from a girl who does it. But I think with boys' academies, you play on a weekend, correct?
Yeah, sometimes. I
mean, it's a mixture, but like with West Ham, we play on a Wednesday. And until I'm on loan at the moment as well, so that's why I've been so busy. But before I was at my loan move, I had weekends off. Like, I could do anything I wanted, and I had time. Even though we train until 6, I got back at 7, and I've got until 7 onwards to do what I want. And it's all about time management. It's just having a good head on you and being determined enough to do it. Exactly. But that's, if you're determined enough to be a footballer at the level that we're playing at, then you'd like to think you could put that into education as well, because it is so important.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I just hope that obviously the younger generation get inspired by things like this, like our story, your story, my story, the YouTube channel, the podcast, so they can like, because I know if more people start doing the university, it opens doors for them now. It makes their future seem brighter. Do you understand? If anything major is to happen, like
Definitely.
major injury, you know, getting released, like it gives them a better outlook on life and the life experience, you know.
Exactly. Like all you can control is what you do. Like just because you perform well every single game and perform well and try hard every training session, that does not mean that you are going to be a professional football player. Like there are so many other things around you that are influencing that. So if you don't get that chance, you need something to fall back on, you know. You need a safety net.
And just to obviously add on to that, like a lot of guys, I know a lot of footballers, like they don't take their education seriously when obviously they're young like us now, and then they're playing catch up by the time they're like 26, 25, or where they're going back to university, gaining those degrees and everything. But if we're like obviously inspiring the younger generation and showing them that if you start from young, it will make it easier for you when you're older.
What, like start
like I mean, like obviously doing university when we're like 18 or younger.
Oh, okay, yeah, definitely. Like do it when the traditional age presents itself. Like you go to uni at 18 at the earliest. Obviously, if you want to take a year out, that's absolutely fine. But don't put it off for 2, 3, 4 years, because if you're not going to do it within 1 year, you are not going to want to do it in 6. Like you are going to be an adult by then. You need to be focusing on your career. Like this is a time in your life when you're 26, you need to be getting a job. You know, you need to be supporting yourself. You might even have a family or a boyfriend, girlfriend that you need to live with as well. Like it's that uni is not something that you want to have on your plate when you are trying to completely figure your life out, because we're not in a position where I have to figure my life out right now because I'm at uni. Like right now, this is the age where I'm allowed to take my time. But at 26, 27, you're a bit rushed and you don't get to enjoy it. You know, you don't get to enjoy the learning experience. You don't get to enjoy actually developing as a person and figuring out what you want to do and actually making a good decision. You're just going to be kind of like, oh, I need to go into this degree and I need to get it done now. And I'm just going to go into whatever job first presents itself. Trust me. There's just no point.
Trust me. But that just perfectly leads on to obviously ask you the major question, like who are you beyond football? Like if football was to be taken away from you, like who are you? What is your identity beyond the game?
What, is in like another career or
just in general? Like
I think if we're going straight away another career, like performance analysis is a massive thing. That I want to be within sport for sure, but away from football, like I'm a very normal person. Like, you know, I've got friends. I want to spend time with my friends and I want to do all the things that teenagers want to do. And I think football is a big part of my life. And yes, my time usually does revolve around football. But if it doesn't work out, I'm not scared of being released from that environment, because I know that I'm going to have the resources around me and the network to do something else that I love. You know, football is not the world. It's a big part of my life, but it's not like the sun, moon, and the earth. You know, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
And that's the beauty of it. I feel like even having that obviously secure thing where you know that, oh, if this was taken away from me, you know, like you won't be flat fact. I feel like that gives you even more confidence when you're playing, you know, that you don't have to worry. Because I know people who are like, oh, this is my be all end all. That gives them anxiety. That gives them like maybe sometimes I know stories of guys who tell me like, raw, like I have to make it. Like if I don't make it, I'm gonna be finished. Like so obviously having that backup, it's like it gives you that comfort to an extent.
Yeah, definitely. Like don't put too much pressure on yourself. Like if you know you've got that other idea, that other backup, it's not every game is like your life depends on it.
Yeah,
You'll play more relaxed, you'll not be as anxious or
exactly.
nervous, and you'll probably perform better,
Yeah,
really.
literally. And that even goes on to like, I've been just listening to podcasts about like ex players, ex pros, ex goalkeepers, and they're just saying how like the worst thing they done was just making football their all and just putting the total focus on it, because it just made them perform worse, because they were just thinking like, oh, if I don't do this, how am I gonna live? How am I gonna do this and
Exactly.
that?
Yeah, and I think as well, a lot of pressure as well comes from coaches. It's like, you need to be doing this away from training. You need to be making football your life.
Exactly.
And that is, I agree to that to an extent, because if you do want to become a pro and you want to make this your life, you have to, in a way, make it your life.
Yeah.
But they don't mean that in a way where it's like, if you perform badly in your head, that means you're now not going to be able to pay your bills in 10 years' time.
Yeah. That's just the sad reality of it.
It's not nice, but this is why you do these things, these kind of podcasts, to let people know that doesn't have to be like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the worst, what the guy was saying, the worst thing you could do is obviously put that as like your be all end all, or put so much focus on that, because then every game or every mistake will hurt you even more, and it will just become like a downward spiral.
Yes,
It will affect
exactly.
your performance, it will affect your confidence.
Agreed.
But yeah, no, it's been good. Obviously, this insight into the females game and the importance of obviously having an identity beyond the game. But let's just end on a little question, like, what's the future of the female game? Like, where do you think it's going next?
I think it looks bright. I think the Sky Sports deal is massive, because I think more people are going to be inclined to watch it, because if you put women's football on a more serious platform, people are going to take it more seriously. When you see the men's games being broadcast on Sky Sports, that's a big deal. They make it that is, everyone watch, that's their Sunday.
Yeah.
You do that to the women's game, you hopefully will get the same response. I know I'll be more inclined to watch it.
Yeah.
And
trust me.
So if that can be the foundation for something really, really important, I think, because that amount of money that is going to be put into those clubs, because right now there's a big gap in the WSL. You've got two leagues in one. There's a massive difference from the top and the bottom.
Yeah.
We need to make it to the point where it like squeezes down, and you've got more of a Premier League where Burnley could beat Man City,
Yeah.
Because with a Premier League game, you don't know. At the WSL right now, you kind of do. You know who's going to beat you. So I hope that this deal with the Sky Sports thing, the money, the coverage, is going to help every team, not just the top, get richer, every team to the bottom, and help them close that gap. And hopefully we'll see a very, very competitive, enjoyable, and in like good spectacle.
Good, man.
It's only going to get bigger.
And hopefully we see you there playing in the WSL soon.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Come on, man. No, good, man. Thanks for jumping on.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Beyond Football podcast. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. We out.